Adam Jones with Skyventure Aviation. Stay tuned for the program What's Up America by Rachael Odima, coming up in a few moments. Adam Jones with Skyventure Aviation. Stay tuned for the program What's Up America with Rachael Odima. Skyventure Aviation. I'm Adam Jones, and I'd love to give you all a tour around today. Come on in. At Skyventure, we primarily specialize in flight training and aircraft rental. We help people get their pilot license, anything from a sport pilot certificate all the way up to an airline transport certificate. This is our lobby for all certificates and ratings. Anything that you might need to learn to fly, we have here. This is Clay. He's one of our administrators. He takes care of the scheduling and everything day-to-day wise that needs to get done. Pilot supplies. Sets to talk back and forth to each other in the aircraft as it gets really loud. We also have different pilot supplies such as books, learning materials, knee boards, flight planning stuff such as plotters, E6B flight computers, everything that we need to conduct a safe flight, and also have more headsets and stuff over here. Here we have what's called our computer-based training kits. All of the ground school anymore is done via internet or CD-ROM based, so that there's really no more coming in and sitting in a classroom type setting. It's all go at your own pace at home in front of your computer. These are a lot of charts that we use as pilots. We have VFR charts and IFR charts, depending on if we're flying in the clouds or not, and also have a lot of test preparation software and books to get people prepared for the written tests that have to be taken as a pilot. Flight instructor offices. This allows us to sit down and meet one-on-one with students so that we can do a full briefing of what we're going to do during the flight and a debriefing after the flight. Let the student know how they did. This is a BATD, or a Basic Aviation Training Device. It is just a computer-based flight simulator. We can simulate everything from a small single-engine Cessna up to a large turboprop King Air. And it's just a basic setup here with a control yoke, our throttle quadrant, and all of our radio stacks here on the right. And then the depiction of flight is out in front of you. Our laser grade PSI training center or testing center. We do written tests via computer for all of the pilot licenses, sport, private, instrument, commercial, airline transport, as well as all sorts of other testing, pre-employment testing that's not associated with aviation or flight training. Here all we have is just a little common area where we can sit down and relax after a flight, get something to drink, and discuss a flight with other pilots. Mentor simulator, a little bit bigger than the other simulator you saw. This is designed to help us primarily teach instrument students. We use this to simulate a Cessna 172, which has a G1000 or glass avionics package in it, and that's basically just the two computer screens instead of the old round gauges that you usually see in airplanes. As the instructor, we would sit here and be able to manipulate everything that's going on with the flight for the student. We can fail engines, we can fail radios, and give the student, real world scenarios that they would face or could face when they're flying the real thing. G1000 here, we have two different screens. We have the PFD, or primary flight display, which gives the pilot his flight instruments such as heading, airspeed, attitude, altitude, such as that. And then over here we have the MFD, or multifunction display, which is basically a giant moving map. It's also integrated with GPS, so we can go direct from point to point. We have the control yoke, just like you saw in the other simulator, the throttle quadrant here. This one's also set up with an autopilot, and then you can see down beneath we have the rudder pedals, just like in an actual airplane. The screen up top is just a simulation of what you'd see if you were looking out the windshield of an airplane. So right now we're sitting right on the runway. This is the hangar where we keep all the aircraft as well as perform maintenance on the aircraft. As a flight school, we're required to do a certain amount of maintenance on the airplanes to keep them in good working order for the students. Have an aircraft that's going through an inspection. All aircraft are required to go through an annual inspection every 12 months. And then those aircraft which are used for flight instruction as well as used for hire also have to do a 100-hour inspection every 100 hours on the aircraft. Here we have one opened up. You can see the engine really well. Sports Star. It's a light sport aircraft made in the Czech Republic. It's a single engine, two-seat aircraft. We use it primarily for training sport pilots as well as private pilots. Brand new Cessna 162 Skycatcher, less than a year old. They just got these out on the market. We use this primarily for sport training and private training as well. It's just a single engine, two-seat light sport aircraft as well. Piper Seneca 1. We use this aircraft for our multi-engine program. It's a twin-engine aircraft. It seats 6, but not comfortably. We have a accelerated multi-engine course where someone who has either a private or commercial certificate can come do a multi-engine add-on in the course of about 3 days. Yeah, it's like an exhaust. This is a Cessna 172 Skyhawk. It's a single engine, 4-passenger aircraft. We use this primarily for private pilot and instrument training. It's instrument certified so that we can fly in the clouds. Left are the fuel trucks anytime we need fuel for the aircraft. Our FBO or fixed base operator here on the field will bring us fuel. And if you look just to the right of the fuel trucks, you'll also be able to see the control tower of the airport where the air traffic controller will dictate what goes on the field, who's allowed to take off, who's allowed to land, who's allowed to taxi, when and where.
My name is Rachael Odima with What's Up America. Today I am in Skyventure, Fayetteville, Arkansas, USA. I have with me
Mark Frankham.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Mark?
Well, I'm one of the owners of Skyventure Aviation. I've been a pilot since 1973, and I have the good fortune of being able to teach people how to fly. It's a very rewarding activity and something we really enjoy here at Skyventure.
So, basically, what is this place?
Well, it's a flight training school. We train pilots, many of them from the local area, but many from outside the United States, principally from India. We have quite a few students who come over from India and train at our school. We teach everything from sport pilot through the commercial pilot ratings, multi-engine ratings. We do everything from sport pilot to airline transport training.
What part do you take at Skyventure?
Well, I'm one of the owners, but I'm also the chief flight instructor, and I wear several hats around here. I'm also a Federal Aviation Administration designated pilot examiner. When someone gets a pilot's license, they have to take a written test and then they have to take a practical test, much like getting a driver's license. You have to pass a written test and you have to pass a practical test. Well, I'm the guy they ride to get their pilot's license, and that too is a very rewarding activity.
So why did you decide to start Skyventure in Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Well, actually, Skyventure started in Jonesboro, Arkansas, about 10 years ago. That school is still in operation at Jonesboro on the other side of Arkansas. A couple of years later, we opened another school in Jackson, Tennessee, and in 2006, we moved the school from Jackson, Tennessee to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and we really have been happy with that move. This is a very wonderful area to work, and we've had the pleasure of teaching a whole lot of people how to fly.
What are the benefits for working at to learn how to fly?
Well, it opens up a whole new world. Learning to fly can literally change your life. You never look at the world the same way you did before. It makes the world a smaller, more accessible place. You can literally get in an airplane and, in an hour or two, be at a sunny beach or be at another city. Gives you great flexibility as far as travel goes. And many of our students, I would say about half of them, want to become professional pilots. They want to do this for a living. And of course, there are many opportunities for professional pilots all around the world, not just here in Arkansas.
So what are the basic steps to being a pilot?
Well, the first thing they do is come to a flight school like Skyventure Aviation and enroll in a pilot training program. Fortunately, just about all the programs out there allow people to train on their schedule. In other words, these are self-paced programs where the ground training is largely done on computers, and the flight training, of course, is done in a variety of aircraft that we operate here at Skyventure. So typically, to get the first pilot certificate, a private pilot certificate, a person would train for approximately 2 to 3 months, 2 to 4 times per week, in order to earn that first license. If a person trains full-time, they can go from 0 time to commercial pilot in about 15 to 18 months.
So is it okay we come and take a look at the planes?
Absolutely. We can crawl inside, sit inside them. I'll be happy to tell you all about them.
So can you tell us about this airplane?
Well, this particular airplane is a Cessna Skycatcher. It's built by Cessna Aircraft Corporation. It's a new airplane, and it's their first new design in almost 50 years. It's designed to teach people how to fly. It's very easy to maintain and a very easy airplane to fly.
How old is the youngest airplane?
Well, I'd say this is the newest one we've got. It's only about 5 or 6 months old, and some of the aircraft that we operate are much older, and the reason is airplanes are not like automobiles. Airplanes are made of aluminum, so they last a long, long time. They don't rust. Some of the airplanes that we still fly were actually built in the 70s, but you wouldn't guess that looking at them because they look brand new.
So can we take a look inside?
Absolutely. I'll put you in the pilot seat. Go ahead and hop in. We'll see what we can get.
I'll try not to touch too much.
Yeah, that's everything. Here, hold on.
So can you tell us about this airplane, what's inside and everything?
Well, this airplane's a little different than a lot of training aircraft because instead of having a normal control wheel, this one has a stick. And if you look outside the airplane as I move the stick, you can actually see the control surface is moving. So, this is the primary control. It works just like a joystick on a computer game. Try it.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
So if you push forward, the airplane would go down. Pull back, the airplane would go up. And this would be left, this would be right. So it's really pretty simple.
Yeah, looks simple. So what are all these buttons and gadgets all about?
Well, the control panel on this particular airplane is a little different than you would see on older airplanes because all the instruments are now electronic. It also has a transponder. It's an instrument that allows the radar to pick up the aircraft and report back the altitude the airplane's flying at. And it also has communication radios that we use to talk to air traffic control. Pretty well equipped airplane, simple to fly, and like I said, simple to maintain.
So is this like a actual radio? You can go ahead and listen to music and all that?
No, you won't listen to music on this radio. You'll hear the air traffic controllers. Yeah.
So what are these little things sticking out here?
Well, this is the throttle, and it's like the gas pedal on a car. You push it in to go faster, pull out to go slower. Now, airplanes, of course, operate at various altitudes, and because of that, airplanes have a mixture control, which you would not see on an automobile. You would have no need for this because the airplane's or car would stay on the ground all the time. But as the airplane climbs, the air becomes thinner and thinner. And in order for the engine to run properly, we have to be able to reduce the fuel mixture that's being mixed with the air for combustion in the engine. So that's why airplanes have a mixture control. This is carburetor heat, prevents ice from forming in the carburetor. And really, it's not a complicated airplane. It's fairly simple. We have flaps. This controls the landing flaps. You can see the flaps deploying on the wing.
Oh, yeah.
Very simple arrangement.
Wow. So, is this like the storage area way back
Yeah,
here?
you got a little place to put a suitcase or two.
Do you
know.
think you can fit somebody back here?
No. Anybody in the airplane has to have a seatbelt on.
Oh.
I'll tell you, we have a number of different airplanes. Would you like to see another one?
Yeah.
All right. I got one to see.
So this one is a lot different from the one we saw over there. Can you tell us all about it?
Well, it's the same idea. It's a light airplane. It's easy to fly. It's easy to maintain. But you may have noticed on the other airplane, the wing was up high. This wing is down low. And it also has this lovely bubble canopy so that you have a 360-degree field of view when you fly. It's really a lot of fun. The airplane looks like it would be very fast, but actually it's not. It flies about 100 miles per hour. And I know that seems fast, but in airplane terms, that's not that fast. It's easy to fly, and you have a terrific view while flying this airplane.
Can you tell us why the wings are so low?
Well, airplanes can be designed with the wing up high or the wing down low. It really doesn't matter. With the wing down low, you're able to see out around and above you easier than you would be if the wing was mounted at the top of the fuselage or the body of the airplane. And from a strength standpoint, it's fairly easy to mount the wing into the lower part of the fuselage with no need for any external bracing like struts. So it's a design consideration. That's all it is.
So can we look around and ask questions all about it?
Absolutely. Tell you anything you want to know about it.
Oh,
Would you like
right.
to know?
Why is the side of the airplane have that curve on top?
That's interesting. Airplanes, when they produce lift, create vortices that come off the wingtip and spiral behind the airplane. These actually increase drag, cause the airplane to move more slowly through the air because of those spiraling vortices. This winglet disrupts that spiraling flow as it comes off the wingtip, making the airplane fly faster. So it's just a small modification to get a little more speed out of it.
So what is this little pocket-looking thing?
Well, when you turn the wheel on a car, it causes the front wheels to move. Everybody knows that. But with an airplane, in order to make it turn, turning the wheels will have no effect in the air. You can see why that would be. So what these control surfaces do, these are called ailerons, and they cause the airplane to bank. With this aileron up, the wind would strike it, pushing this wing down. The other wing, if this one goes up, the other one goes down, causing it to push that wing up. So this causes the airplane to roll. An airplane turns kind of like a bicycle. A bicycle, you have to lean into the turns. Airplanes do the same thing. That's how they turn, is by banking.
Oh, that's really interesting. So what are these numbers on the airplane for?
Well, all airplanes registered in the United States have to have the first letter always has to be an N because that means it's from the United States. If it had a C, it would be Canada. X would be Mexico. And then you have a series of numbers and letters, and we choose the last two letters, SV, for Skyventure. So this airplane would be known as November 319 Sierra Victor, using the International Phonetic Alphabet.
So is this airplane for to doing tricks and flips and all that?
Rachel, a lot of people ask that, but it's really not designed for aerobatic flight. I'm certain it would be capable of aerobatic flight, but we don't do it with this airplane. Now, this airplane really is designed to teach people how to fly. It has very forgiving flight characteristics, easy to fly, and just a whole lot of fun.
Why do you guys have the back wing back here?
Well, the way an airplane flies, it produces lift from the wings, but you have to be able to control that lift. The amount of lift you create causes the airplane to rise or to fall. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be able to control the angle at which the air is striking the wing. And that's the function of the tail of the airplane, to stabilize the pitch attitude of the airplane. So we have another control surface back here, literally called the elevator. What the elevator does is elevates the nose up and down. You can see if we pull back on the stick, this control surface moves upward, the air strikes it, pushing the tail downward, which in turn would push the nose up. So that's called an elevator.
Can we go and look inside?
Absolutely. I'll let you be the pilot. Go over here. Just step on the black stripes.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Pretty cozy, huh?
Yeah.
Actually, there's plenty of room, even with the canopy closed. It's a very comfortable airplane to fly. Plenty of room.
So what is the screen for? Is it the same as the last one?
It's kind of similar to that. We'll go ahead and turn it on. The instruments on an airplane now are largely electronic. So we have two screens on this airplane. Look at this strobe is turned off. The left screen are the primary flight instruments. Simply by looking at these instruments, we can tell whether the airplane is flying straight and level or in turning flight. If it gets repositioned here.
So is that what this arrow thing is for?
Well, the blue and the brown represent the sky and the ground. So as long as we see this picture, we know the airplane is sitting level.
So can you explain to us what this circle thing right here means?
Well, you have the basic flight display on the left side, and this gives us all the primary flight information we need to fly the airplane. If we were to fly the airplane into a cloud, we wouldn't be able to see the ground. So this instrument tells us whether we're right side up or upside down. The blue represents the sky, the brown represents the ground. So as long as these little yellow reference points are level with the blue and the brown, we know the airplane's flying level. On the right is an altimeter. This tells us how high we are above the ground. In this case, it shows about 1,300 feet, which is the elevation of the airport above sea level. So that's how we tell how high we are in the air. The circular display is actually a compass, and this says we're pointed north, or nearly directly north at this moment. So it's simply a compass. And on the left is airspeed. That tells us how fast we're moving through the air.
So what are this circle things all around here?
Well, these are backup instruments. This is a backup altimeter, a backup turn coordinator, and a backup airspeed indicator. Suppose we had an electrical failure and we lost this primary display, we would still be able to safely fly the airplane with the remaining instruments that are analog. They're not dependent on electricity at all. They'll continue to operate. And over on the right side of the panel, we have the engine monitoring gauges that show, for instance, how much fuel we have, what our rate of fuel burn is, how many gallons per hour the engine's burning, oil pressure, oil temperature. Look, see, it's giving us an alarm. It's saying the oil pressure is low, which of course it is because the engine isn't running. So let's get rid of that. And it also manages or shows the engine RPM, manifold pressure, cylinder head temperatures, oil temperatures, that sort of thing, so we can safely monitor the engine while we're in flight.
So what if this fails? How do you know if the oil pressure is okay?
Well, worst case, if this failed without being able to read the actual engine RPM, if we've flown this airplane, we can sort of listen to the sound of the engine and know about how much power it's producing, and also the position of the throttle. That's full power, and that's idle. So we know about what throttle setting we need for various performance. So we could fly it briefly without this screen. What we would simply do is land and get it fixed though. So there are a lot of redundant systems to make the airplane safe. That's why we so closely monitor the engine in flight. If we have a problem, we want to know about it soon.
So what is these two gadgets here?
This is a navigation satellite receiver, and of course we're sitting in a hangar right now, so it can't get signal at the moment, but it works just like the GPS in your car. This is our primary means of navigation. This is a communications radio, and this is a transponder which sends back our position both horizontally and vertically back to the air traffic controller so they can track us on radar while we're flying.
Why is there fuel right here and not on the wings or in the back?
What it is we have two fuel tanks. Fuel is stored in the wings of the aircraft. We have two tanks. They hold approximately 16 gallons each tank. So this airplane carries 35 gallons of fuel and burns approximately 5 gallons per hour. So simple math will tell you this airplane will stay in the air for about 7 hours. It has a tremendous range. But anyway, since the fuel is carried in two separate tanks, we have a fuel selector. At the moment, this airplane would be burning fuel from the left tank. After, perhaps an hour, we would switch over and burn fuel off the right tank. And we continue to alternate this back and forth to keep the fuel balanced in the wing so one wing doesn't become heavier than the other.
Yeah. Can you tell us anything else that looks interesting? Like, why is this here?
Well, this is, look, when I move it, look at the ailerons out there. See them move?
Oh.
So this is giving us left and right. And this is up. That would pull the nose up. That would push the nose forward.
That's really neat.
So when you're flying, the stick would be right about here. And what you do is you kind of rest your arm on your leg when you're flying. And that allows you to fly the airplane very precisely.
So it's just pretty much like a video game.
It is. It's a lot like a video game, Rachel, except it's a real airplane. And, you can go places, you can see things from the air that you'd never see from the ground. It's incredible. A lot of fun.
Can you tell us what these little stickers are here for?
Well, these are just circuit breakers, just like you have circuit breakers in your house. If a circuit becomes overloaded, this button would simply pop out like that. And we'd probably get an indication over here that a system had failed, and it would simply push it back in. Like, see, that was the transponder. Notice when I pull this out, the screen went blank. See that? To put it back on, I'd simply push that button back in to reset it.
Wow.
So it's just a safety consideration. That's what it is.
I really like this airplane. It's really neat.
Oh, Rachel, it's a lot of fun to fly. We'll have to get it in the air.
All right, thank you. I like this one. I see there's two motors here. Is it difficult to fly?
Well, it's a little more involved. As long as both engines are running, the airplane is very docile, very easy to fly. When we're training someone to fly a twin-engine airplane, what we're really teaching them is how to fly the airplane if one engine fails. If one engine fails, the airplane will fly on the remaining engine if we do everything right and do it right then. So we train a lot of multi-engine pilots, but the big advantage of this airplane having two engines, of course, safety is a big part. If you lose an engine, you still have one to keep you in the air, but the airplane's a lot faster. This airplane will go about 200 miles per hour, where the smaller training airplanes, about 100 miles per hour. So if I'm going somewhere, this is what I want to go in.
Why this one and not the other ones?
Well, this one has the two engines and it's faster. It carries more. I can carry 6 people in this airplane, where the smaller airplane could only carry 2. And I can carry all my suitcases and all my stuff. Lots of stuff.
Do you want to look around real quick?
Yeah, come on, let's take a look. Let me show you the boarding area. You by there?
Yeah. Wow, this is really roomy.
Yeah. It's, I like to think of it as a flying sport utility vehicle.
Why that?
Because you can carry people, you can carry a lot of baggage, kind of like an SUV. The passengers would enter through this door. The crew would enter through the front door, the door on the front right side. That's where the pilots would sit. And it has dual controls just like the smaller airplanes. And Rachel, what we use these airplanes for primarily are to teach people how to fly multi-engine airplanes. But on my days off, it's a good way to get around.
So why do you guys have all these these things back here?
What things are those?
The little space.
Oh, this is just to carry luggage. The whole airplane opens up so you can easily load baggage. And Rachel, these seats will come out very easily so that you could carry cargo if you wanted to. The seats just pop right out. It's
Wow.
easy.
That's really neat. So can we take a look in the front?
Sure. This one first. We'll go around. This is going to be a little more difficult to shoot.
I'm in. Alright, so why does this one have way more gadgets than the others?
Well, Rachel, there's just a lot more going on with this airplane. It has 2 engines, so you have double the number of engine instruments. You have 2 throttles, 2 controls for the propellers, and 2 mixture controls. This is called the throttle quadrant. And the instruments on this airplane, instead of being a video display, it has regular analog type instruments in it.
That's really cool. So what are these here?
That's a switch panel. It does things like turns on fuel pumps, landing lights, magnetos, alternators, just a variety of controls.
This one I can't really see over.
Well, we have some cushions back here somewhere. Where we can actually, the seat will rise up. There's a way of
So
doing
it's just
that.
for a certain height.
It's set up for me. But it's a comfortable airplane to fly, and it's pretty fast. It'll get there quickly.
What's the fastest speed for a normal airplane?
For an airplane like this, they're typically about 200 miles per hour, where the single-engine airplanes, the ones with just one motor, 100 to 150 would be typical, something like that.
Wow.
It's not a jet.
What is this here for?
These are throttles. Like on the other airplane, it was simply a knob that pushed in and out.
Yeah.
With this one, they move like this. That's go fast and go slow.
So they're just pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. But you have 2 tachometers that tell you the engine RPM, and it's kind of critical that you get the propellers synchronized so both engines are turning at exactly the same RPM. You can actually listen to the engine and tell when the engines are in harmony, and that's what we're shooting for when we fly.
How come this one has way more little instruments than this side?
Well, it's designed to be flown from the left seat, so most of the flight instruments are going to be on the left side. This is the co-pilot side that I'm sitting on. You're sitting in the captain's seat right now.
So if I wanted to go on a vacation, this would be the best one to go on.
This is the one I take. You know, I can go out to this runway, take off, and in about 3 hours I can be at the beach. I can be kicking sand and having a good time.
Wow.
It's an escape machine. I can escape.
I would want to escape sometimes.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Being able to go somewhere quickly, efficiently. I don't have to wait for the airlines. My flight leaves when I say it leaves. My suitcase, right where I put it back there. It works out well.
What are these little circle buttons?
Oh, these are circuit breakers. If we had a short circuit or an excessive load on any circuit, these circuit breakers would pop out to protect the airplane.
So they're just like the other one, but they're...
Yep.
higher.
That's pretty much what it is. And I know it looks like there's a lot of stuff here to look at, but really these 6 instruments are the primary flight instruments: the airspeed, attitude, altimeter, vertical speed indicator, the compass, and the turn coordinator. Those are the 6 instruments that we're really paying attention to in flight.
How old is this?
This is a 1974 model airplane, but I mean you wouldn't guess it because we maintain them very carefully.
Wow, I didn't think it was that old.
I know. I have airplanes that are older than some of my employees that fly them. Literally.
Wow.
Of course, I got T-shirts older than some of my employees.
Well,
Ready to get out?
yeah.
All right.
What would one do to get in this type of class?
It's really easy. You can start at any time. Most people start with the private pilot course. It takes about 2 to 4 months to complete. It's all self-paced. We conduct flight training 7 days a week, so we can do this around anyone's schedule. Even people who are busy can learn to fly. For a sport pilot certificate, we can do a sport pilot license in about 6 weeks to 2 months. To become a private pilot, which is just one grade above, which allows you to fly at night and do some other things. Like I said, it's a very rewarding activity to be involved in. It's exciting. It is the ultimate adventure. I'll tell you that right now. It's a lot of fun, and it's within the reach of most people. Most people have hobbies. This is another hobby for some people. For business people, sometimes this is a business tool which allows them to travel on business at their convenience. So it's an activity open to everyone, and all they have to do is give us a call at Fayetteville. We're located at Fayetteville Drake Field Airport, just south of the city, and you can reach us by phone or on the internet at www.skyventureinc.com.
How long does each class take?
The sport pilot course would take about 6 weeks. The private pilot, anywhere from 2 to 4 months, because again, it's all self-paced. Different people learn at different rates. I have seen people complete the private pilot course in an astonishingly short amount of time. I had one woman do it in 17 days. And I have other people who may take 6 months to complete it because they're only going to fly on the weekends or when they have time to.
So if somebody wanted to take a class at midnight, would you guys let them come?
You know, that's an interesting question. We have to do 3 hours of night training anyway to get a private pilot certificate. So we, in fact, provide training at any time, and we do have to do some of it at night anyway. I had one man who did most of his training at night. He trained during the winter, and he didn't get off work until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and most of his training was done at night. You can do it. It's not a problem.
What are the age groups that you guys are wanting around?
You know, to get a student pilot certificate, you have to be at least 16 years of age. To be a private pilot or a sport pilot, the minimum age is 17. For a commercial pilot, minimum age is 18. And we actually had someone get their commercial pilot certificate last week at age 18.
Wow. So does all the commercial, their private, take 2 to 6 weeks maybe, or
Well,
does it all
you know,
depend?
just to give you a broad idea, private pilot is the first step. We estimate about 3 months to do that. The next step would be to get an instrument rating so that you can fly the airplane in weather. That takes about another 3 months. And then the commercial pilot certificate typically is going to take 9 to 12 months to complete that. Although I've had people do it in much less time.
Well, I think that's all my questions I have. Thank
Well, Rachel,
you.
it's been delightful. Next time you come, we're going to get in the airplane and we're going to go fly.
All right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And that concludes our tour today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for stopping by. I don't know. Oh.
So I just start with the question? So can you tell us about this airplane?
Well, this is a Cessna Skycatcher. It's a brand new airplane. It's built by Cessna Aircraft Corporation, and it's the first. Yeah.
Okay. And then I'll add. So I just start with the question?
Well, this is a Cessna Skycatcher. It's a brand new airplane. It's built by Cessna Aircraft Corporation, and it's the first new model they've built. We'll start over. She wants.
Tell us about this airplane?
Something about the blue and the...
Yeah.
Are we starting? Oh, okay.
This is the control stick. He's. I don't think he's filming right now. He's talking on the phone.
Ready.
I'll take the pause.
So why does this thing here?
Well, I don't know, Joseph. That's going to be really hard with that light. Are you going to be able to do it? Try to put your knee over here if you can. That's a weak right there. That metal is. This metal's strong enough to support you. There you go. No, your other foot, watch it there. Don't put any weight on that. That's on the flap. Yeah, just you got to stay on the black surface.
Let me turn on the lights real quick back here. Kind of clean up. Hold on for a second. Clean up this one real quick, and then we can. Go ahead. And it's pretty much just a computer setup to mimic several different aircraft. We can select anything from a small single-engine Cessna up to a large turboprop King Air. Our Elite BATD, or Basic Aviation Training Device.